So, did you know there's actually two different types of flow, both identified by the same Hungarian positive psychologist Mihalyi Csikszentmihalyi, who first discovered and coined the term flow from a psychology perspective back in the 1970s. But why did Mihalyi Csikszentmihalyi revisit his work on flow and identify a second type? What is the second type of flow? How do we access it, and what benefits can it bring to our everyday lives? I'm going to explore all of this and a little bit more with you in this video. But first, let's just look at the first type of flow that Mihalyi Csikszentmihalyi discovered: flow state. Now, flow state is where we feel our best and perform our best. Mihalyi Csikszentmihalyi first discovered this when he was observing artists at work. So I want you to imagine like a big artist studio with artists painting at their easels. And he noticed that when the artists were painting and creating their masterpieces, how totally absorbed they were in their work. They were fully engaged at the task at hand. They could spend hours sitting in front of the easel and report that it would just feel like they were there for maybe 20 minutes. They also reported things like not being distracted, like a part of the ceiling falls down in the studio and the artist doesn't even register the noise or flinch or react in any particular way because they are so focused in their work. Now, Mihalyi Csikszentmihalyi became fascinated with this because as he observed it, he thought, what type of consciousness, what type of state are these artists able to access? And when he interviewed them, there was a common word that continually reappeared: flow. Artists would say, I just felt in the flow. I just felt fully immersed in the moment, completely absorbed in the task at hand. They reported characteristics that were all common, like their sense of self disappeared. So that inner critic, that sense of worry was removed, that they lost track of time. And that after they exited the state, that they felt happier. And so Mihalyi Csikszentmihalyi, quite rightly so, became really fascinated with this state. He went on to do an extensive amount of research in it and termed and defined this state as the optimal experience, or the total engagement in life. He says that when we're in flow, we not only feel our best, but we perform our best. Studies have gone on to show that actually when we're in flow state, our productivity can increase by up to 500%. That's a huge increase in productivity. So we're able to achieve more in less time when we access this state. But rather than feeling burnt out and frazzled and exhausted, actually the byproduct of flow is happiness. So flow is hugely important. It's not exclusive to the artist or a musician or an athlete, although this is how it's commonly spoken about. Flow is a state that we can control and create and access on a daily basis in our everyday lives. When we access and begin to structure our days more around flow, we can achieve with ease. We begin to unravel our authentic gifts and talents. We discover our purpose and are able to make our signature impact on the world with less force and more flow. Life feels effortless, and people who live from a place of flow report greater sense of harmony and serenity. They are fully present in the moment, but also aligning and taking those micro steps towards their future. It's a beautiful state. So why the need then for a second type of flow? Why would Mihalyi Csikszentmihalyi go back and revisit it and say, actually, we need to make a distinction. We need a second type. Well, it kind of came down to this, where he looked at, let's go back to the artist. He looks at the artist. And sure, the artist is in flow, paints its incredible masterpiece. He or she feels totally absorbed. They exit the studio, they feel happy and alive and content, and they've achieved more in less time. But what if they just return to a mundane life? What if that's where this beautiful flow experience stops and ends? And he questioned, is that really enough if the artist or the chess player or the basketball player or anyone has these beautiful, intense flashes of joy against the dull background of everyday life? and then just returns to a mundane, uninspiring life. Does that really equate to a good life? Does that really mean that our time here on earth is well spent? And he concluded, no, that wasn't enough, and actually there was more to flow than these states. Enter the second type of flow, unified flow. This is where Mihalyi Csikszentmihalyi identified that actually we need a second type of flow so that we can live in flow. He says in order to do this, we need to apply the formula for flow to our entire lives. And he breaks a way to do this down, and it's as follows. For unified flow to occur, he writes in his work that we need a large, personally compelling goal that is difficult or challenging for us. And if from that all small goals logically follow, then our thoughts, perceptions, emotions, and actions will be in harmony, and life will flow. He argues that from this place of unified flow, the past, the present, and the future are all in alignment and make sense. All the fragmented parts of our lives come together to have this beautiful, unified sense of meaning and purpose. And it's this meaning and purpose that gives our lives deep enrichment and fulfillment. Of course, we can still have the flow state experiences. They're going to be interspersed throughout our journey of unified flow. But what we do is we bring awareness to the complete experience of life, as opposed to just these brief moments and flashes of joy. It's when we combine these two together that actually we get the full benefits of flow. We achieve more in less time. We feel happier. We reveal our own unique potential and talents. But more than that, we live in a more continual place of alignment. We feel that harmony and serenity, not only in those flow state experiences, but also when we exit, because everything is aligned, everything is harmonious, everything is working towards that larger goal. Isn't that just so beautiful and so uplifting to have that formula for a deep, rich sense of meaning and purpose in our lives? Now, I love combining both these types of flow, and I do this through my journal. So if you're familiar with this channel, you'll already know that I'm the author of this lovely little book called Find Your Flow, which outlines the world's first journal system for flow. And it gives you a really beautiful way to structure your day around flow, both unified flow and flow states. And I'm going to share with you a really simple way for you to do that, because all of this theory stuff is great. I mean, it sounds really uplifting, doesn't it? You'll have this beautiful, rich life with deep meaning and purpose and intense flashes of joy. But the most important thing is that you know how to put that into action, right? Like, you don't want to switch off this video and go, I mean, that sounds amazing, but you just don't know how to do it. No, I'm going to give you a really practical way to do this. So all you're going to need is like a journal or a notepad and a pen. Now, in the front of your journal, what you're going to do is, I'll show you mine actually. So this is the front page of my journal. You're probably not able to read it. But at the front, I have my goals, my large, personally compelling goal. Now, sometimes this can be like a 10-year vision. Sometimes that feels way too overwhelming. And actually, it's just for the next few months, which is where this journal is currently at. It's just focusing up to, over the next 3 months. And I've written my large, personally compelling goals down here. Some are related to work things that I want to achieve. Others are health and personal. Now I have that at the front of my journal as a reminder. And then each day when I'm setting my high flow priorities, these are activities that you want to do or you feel in flow doing, so you begin to structure your day around flow. I make sure that at least one of those aligns with the larger vision that I have for my life. That keeps me in that constant space of unified flow. If you remember, as we've just kind of discussed, it's that large, personally compelling goal from which all smaller goals logically follow. So my high flow priorities are those smaller goals that are in alignment with that larger goal that I have for my life. Like I said, a big life goal can feel a bit scary and overwhelming. So, you can break it down to the next 3 months, the next year, the next month, if you want to. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you have that large, personally compelling goal and you set those smaller goals each day. That's going to bring you more into unified flow. That's a really quick tip. Secondly, then, I also use the same things. So the high flow priorities are also a way for me to track when I feel in flow. What am I doing? Who am I with? And why is that particular activity important for me? And I make a note of that at the end of every night, like just detecting that, becoming like a little scientist in my own life. And then I take all of that rich learning that I get each day, that we all get each day, but we often don't pay attention to because we just want to get through the day and to the weekend. But when we pay attention, we get to strip out those rich little microdots of evidence about where flow occurs for us, and then structure our day increasingly around flow so that we achieve more in less time, so that we fulfill our potential, so that we discover our purpose and our talents and what we're actually here to do, and also get that deeper sense of meaning and alignment. This can really help take you out of that resistance and worry and thinking and overanalyzing life, and actually help you flow through small steps that really do build momentum and create a beautiful ripple effect in your life. Now, if you're curious, I know that was a really brief overview of how to use the journal system for flow and how to structure your day more around flow, and again how to access unified flow using the journal system by writing your large goal in the front of the journal and then setting your smaller goals each day. But if you want more in-depth overview of the system, then you're going to find videos on this channel. Or of course, if you're more of kind of like, I want a book and I want to read about it, then I will pop a link to the book's website in the notes below. Or you can just head over to the website. It's called findyourflowthebook.com. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you've learned about a second type of flow that you might not have been familiar with and how it can be really beneficial to your life. I would love to hear your comments if you know about unified flow. I really want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. If this is your first time hearing about unified flow and you're like, why is nobody talking about this? I also want to hear from you. I'm really, really curious to see if you're aware of this or if you're not, and if you want to know a little bit more about it. Please let me know in the comments below. Also, of course, and I feel like an icky YouTuber, not that there's anything wrong with YouTubers, but it just feels very unnatural for me to say, but please do like and subscribe to this channel. It really does make a difference, and I greatly appreciate it. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and learned something new, and that you utilize the little journaling tips to help you on your journey so that you can live a life in flow and reap all the beautiful benefits that flow brings. That's all for now, and I'll chat with you soon.